You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the January 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Michigan City Parks and Recreation Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening to Park Board meeting for January 3rd. If you'd rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Shannon, would you call the roll?
It'll be roll calling the roll. We're trained.
Okay. Just a habit of calling Shannon.
Just the board members. Yep.
Phil Freeze,
Here.
Diane Sperling,
Here.
Tim Glidden,
Here.
Phil Latchford.
You can say absent.
The next item is election of officers. Can we hold that off and see if Phil shows up, Shannon?
Yes. Yeah,
So,
you can move it down later in the agenda.
yeah,
I believe you could even move it to the next meeting. If I'm not mistaken.
okay. Well, then, item 3 on your agenda, will either move it down or change it to the next meeting. So we have, the item 4, also the appointment of liaisons. We'll have to wait to do that until the next meeting. And Tim, if you or I know the Port Authority has a meeting, we'll attend those like normal till we find out any new assignments. Okay, thank you. You have the minutes of the previous meeting from December 20th in front of you. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, we have a motion to accept.
I would move that we accept the minutes from December 20th.
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you. Any project updates?
No, sir.
Old business?
No, sir.
Table business?
No, sir.
New business? We have a few items here as new business. We have the Uptown Social 5K Walk Run event. And, excuse me, you have that agreement before you. Are there any questions, comments?
I'd just like to let the board know that this is a return event. It's not stationed in the park. They just go through the park. It's pretty cool because is it a Thursday evening again? Is it on a Thursday again? On a Thursday. Yeah, so it's like something to do during the week. So that makes it a little unique for a 5K. Jeremy's here if you have any questions. I would highly recommend this. We've never had any issues. And it's just a real cool event. They go back to Uptown Social for a party afterwards.
And anybody comments from the audience or comments from the board? Do we have a motion to approve this proposal?
I would move that we move to accept the Uptown Social 5K Run Walk.
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good luck.
Thank you for coming. We have a couple of restoration license agreements. Item B is for 1224 Lakeshore Drive. Are there any comments from the public?
Just to give the board an update, this is our approved restoration license agreement, which allows homeowners adjacent to the Esplanade to remove invasive species and plant native species, which improves the health of the dunes at the cost of the homeowner. Our agreements do require the city forester to approve the plan. However, that position is not filled and has not been for some time. But I would recommend that the park board approve these. These two property owners have had, between the two of them, 4 license agreements in the past, all with Dan's Landscaping. Dan's is very familiar with their property, and this is just, and every so many years, they want to come back in and do maintenance on it. We do have a maintenance agreement if they renew it every year, but that has lapsed. So we need to approve the full license agreement. I have reviewed this. I will go out and review the work once it's completed and report back to the board.
Any comments from the board? Yes, these two homeowners on 24 and 26 Lakeshore Drive have this is not their first attempt at this, and they do a real nice job of getting rid of things that aren't natural here to our dunes. If there aren't any questions or comments from the board or the public, do we have a motion to for the restoration license agreement of 2024?
We're going to do them separately. I move that we approve the restoration license for 1224 Lakeshore Drive.
I'll second it.
For approval, aye.
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 All opposed, nay.
We also have a like agreement here, restoration license agreement for 2026, and you can see the picture, they're right next to the drawing or the picture, they're right next door to one another. This individual homeowner has also been very conscientious about the property and taking care of it. Are there any comments from the public? And Shannon kind of summed it up when she talked about 1224. The same thing would apply here. Any comments from the board? Motion to accept this restoration agreement.
I would move that we accept the restoration agreement for 1226 Lakeshore Drive.
I'll second it.
All for aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Ayes have motion carried.
We have the quotes on landscaping service for Millennium Plaza. Did we receive any quotes?
We did receive one quote from our current vendor, but after speaking with maintenance director Pat Bolts, he has some ideas for moving some of this work in-house, which would reduce the price of our annual contract. So I would ask the board to table this so we can kind of get in the weeds on this and figure out what the park can do and then negotiate a rate with ServiceScape.
Sounds like a nice arrangement. Thank you, Mr. Volt. Do we have a motion to table the 2024 to 2026 Millennium Plaza landscaping service?
I would move that we table the 2024-26 Millennium Plaza Landscape Services Agreement.
Second it.
All for the motion, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carried.
We also have, excuse me, the 2024-2026 pest control services.
Yes, we received 2 bids for that from Franklin Pest Control and our current vendor Hatfield Pest Control. And as you can see in our the packet that you received, our current vendor Hatfield Pest Control is significantly lower than Franklin Pest Control. So I would ask the board to accept their quote and award the contract. And I would like to say for all these contracts, they've all been reviewed and approved by our attorney, Nuremberg, and also General Insurance.
And I noticed that was going to be one of my questions about the significant difference in cost for the same thing. Any comments from the public? Comments from the board?
I think that Hatfield has done this for quite a few years, right?
Yes.
And there haven't been any problems with past.
None. We've been very happy with their.
Okay, good. Because I was curious too why it was such a big difference. If there was something that Franklin Pest Control offered that
You know, so
they.
Franklin Pest Control did offer a site visit with the zoo director, so they were taken around and shown exactly what it is that needs to be done.
Mhm.
So I was a little surprised it was that far apart as well, but, they definitely knew what they were bidding on and it was the same as.
Okay. Yeah, I would say as long as we're not having any problems, that seems fair to go with a lower price.
Yeah. Any other comments? Do you have a motion to accept the 2024-2026 pest control services from Hatfield Pest Control?
I would move that we accept the Hatfield Pest Control bid. for Pest
Second.
control services.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
We have another, do we have a quote, Shannon, on this next topic, the 2024-2026 porta pot service?
We do. We received one quote and that was from our current vendor who we are also very satisfied with, that's Service Sanitation. And I would recommend the board accept their quote and award the contract.
Comments from the public? Any comments from the board? Yes, I think they've done a good job. I don't recall any serious complaints from anybody. And, you know, I first looked at that number, I thought, oh my gosh, and then I realized how much work they have to do during the year, especially during special events when we have a big crowd. And again, I have to second Shannon's comment. They've done a nice job.
That's good. Are there any thoughts on why other people didn't bid on it? Did
One
they?
of the companies was actually, well, actually two of them have been sold. So there's only two in our region right now.
Mhm.
So we sent it out to 4 different companies. We try to stay as close to Michigan City as we can. Of course,
Mhm.
that drives the price down if they don't have to travel.
Mhm.
So 2 of them are just no longer in business. And the third didn't submit a bid.
Wow. Okay.
Any other comments? Do we have a motion to accept the 2024-2026 porta pot services?
I would move that we accept the Service Sanitation's bid for the 2024-2026 porta pot services.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
We also have before us the 2024-2026 trash collecting services.
Yes, we only received, or actually we received 2 bids for trash collection, one from Waste Management, one from Republic Services, who is our current vendor. Republic Services was much cheaper than Waste Management. And at their current vendor, we're very happy with their services. So I would recommend you accept their quote and award the contract to them. And if I could just remind the board, these are 3-year contracts, but you do have the right to either terminate or renew at the end of each year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any comments from the public? Comments from the board?
Mm-mm.
As you can see, there is a significant difference in the base rate total. And we have been using Republic Services and they've been very satisfactory. Do we have a motion to accept the trash collecting services of Republic Services?
I would move that we accept the quote from Republic Services for trash collection services from 2024 to 2026.
I'll second it.
All four say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And item H, the Bear family through their liaison, Shannon Eason, has requested that they be moved.
Yes, so the art committee asked the park board to consider moving Bear Family a short distance. Many of the committee members just feel that it's in kind of a blind spot, especially when you're driving, but even when you're walking. More people are focused on the entrance to the zoo and the splash park. It's a fairly easy move to move it over there. I will say on our self-guided audio tour app, which is called AutoCast, this had the most hits in 2023, so it is an extremely popular sculpture out of all the ones that we have in Michigan City. But I do tend to agree, if we moved it just slightly to the east, it would be more visible for walkers and drivers.
Comments from the public? Any comments from the board?
I think it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I thought so too. It's obviously people walking from the parking lot to the zoo will definitely be able to see it.
Mhm.
It is kind of neat if you haven't seen it.
And I would like to note that our committee leased this for 2 years. That's what our standard lease is. And then the artist, Jim Collins, donated it to the city because he just loved the bears being close to our zoo. So,
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah, we appreciate the donation. And
Yeah.
it's the first piece that he has in Michigan City. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Any other comments? Do we have a motion to accept the request to move the Bear Family?
I would move that we accept the recommendation of the Public Art Committee to move the Bear Family.
Second it?
All for, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Superintendent's report.
Thank
Shannon?
you. Happy New Year, everyone. So I've been superintendent for 2 days and my report's very lengthy. First of all, I'd like to welcome Will Walker to our staff. We're all super excited to have him. We're looking forward to a really exciting and busy year in the park department. So on the admin side, some projects that we are working on. Well, first of all, Will and I met with the YMCA this morning and they've formed an advisory committee. They're going to pay for a feasibility study in Michigan City, but they're really looking to start collaborating with the city, the schools, local businesses, nonprofits to kind of combine efforts and offer more to our residents, which is great. So we were happy that we were invited to the initial meeting this morning. It went well. Projects that we'll be working on this year. Right now, we're doing our annual employee evaluations. Those always happen in the first quarter of each year. Millennium Plaza Fountain is on the radar still. We're still trying to get budget estimates for repairs, figure out if we're going to repurpose it or demolish it. So that's a big project. Water Tower Park, the renovation project, I was able to get additional grant funding. If you recall, all 3 bids were way over our budget. But we do have funding in place now. It's federal funding, and I have to wait 15 days from today while it goes out for public comment. So I'll be bringing that construction contract to you on February 7th. The Fetters Alley All-Inclusive Playground and Fitness Park, we currently have $2 million in city funding. We are waiting to see if Congressman Mervan's earmarked funds of $1 million get approved and signed by the president. That can happen any day now. So we're very hopeful that that gets approved. And later in this month, I'll be applying for a Healthcare Foundation of LaPorte County grant. Sorry, they've changed their name. It's Health Foundation of LaPorte County now. We applied for this last year and their board really, really liked the project. We were asked to come twice to present to them. The issue they had is the city hadn't committed funding yet. So they thought it was premature that we were asking for grant funding, and I agree. You know, we needed to put some skin in this game. So now, if we do get the funding from Mervan, we're at $3 million, and I think it's a good ask for $1 million from them, and I think they'll be extremely receptive. That'll make the project fully funded with construction that could start this year. Cool. So that's exciting. We do have city funding, $100,000 for Oak Hills ADA and safety upgrades. That's really not enough to do any significant upgrades. So I applied for an additional $100,000 through CDBG for the 2024 cycle. But we need to start, excuse me, our public input process and our preliminary design now, like probably by the end of the third quarter, and at least get this off the ground. We'll definitely design in phases. If we don't get the extra money, we'll at least be able to do some improvements, but I'm hopeful that we'll get the full amount. The old bandstand preservation project is underway. Their first site meeting was today. They'll be coming out to do a mobilization and project schedule meeting in the next couple of weeks. And Pat Wiltz and Will and I will be included on that. So that's another exciting project happening. Singing Sands Phase 3, the construction is fully funded now through NERC. We got good news yesterday that a few projects in Gary and Porter were canceled. So grant money that they were using as match towards their construction got moved to the city. So that will save us $322,000. And we are on track for construction in either or 2024 and 2025. I did send a report to the mayor. The board was copied on it on large projects that we want to discuss early on this year and her administration, which include construction of at least one of the Fetters Alley boardwalks to complement the new playground and fitness park and add access to the beach and also protect the dunes. Construction of Patriot Park parking lots, which we all know are way overdue and very much needed. Construction of new parking lots as outlined in our Washington Park master plan, which the new city events director, he's starting to grow these events and bringing more events in. And Rick from CVB can tell you, we are just out of parking. If we're going to continue these world-class sporting events in Washington Park, we've got to address on-site and off-site. So I think it's time to start that discussion. Funding for Monkey Island is going to be big this year. We'd like to have Monkey Island completed and celebrated for the zoo's 100th anniversary, which is in 28. That seems like it's far off, but it's not if it's grant funded. As you know, that can take years to get funding. So we'll be concentrating on that, and then also looking at the new gift shop and classroom and rental space that we've discussed here. We have a lot of work to do still to figure out our return on investment, but I think it's a good project. In our recreation department, we're getting an early jump on getting our youth baseball registration packets and associated fees to the board so we can get kids signed up early. That'll be at your next meeting agenda. We're also moving our T-ball games out of Trail Creek to Gardena Park. Our maintenance director believes by keeping his staff in Gardena, we'll have higher quality fields because they're there 5 days a week. And we'll also save $3,000 per season in porta pot expenses alone. So that coupled with the labor savings and the higher quality, great move. Thank you, Pat. We haven't had any movement on our youth basketball drop-in clinics. Kayla's reached out to the school. She reached out to Faith City Church. The holidays came along. She hasn't heard back from anything, but she's going to be working with Will because he's got great connections in the school system. We're not forgetting about this, and she's trying to move it forward. Zoo's been fairly quiet. They're completing their leaf cleanup. They're having some furnace issues on the NACE exhibit, so she's keeping a close eye on that. We do have funding identified if we have to replace that furnace. It's 2008. Again, this isn't in an exhibit, so it's critical that we replace that when the time comes. It'll be an emergency purchase if it does go out. We were able to get Stephanie out there this morning and they got it working again, but I'm guessing in the near future it's going to be a replacement. The holiday lights in Washington Park will end this Sunday on January 7th. At the golf course, the overhead door project has been completed. I will be meeting with Green Superintendent Michael Moore and Tony Staley of Specialized Services on January 22nd to discuss the bid that he put in for spray tech services this year. If the board recalls, the bid's $10,000 more than it was last year, but includes education and benchmarks. I'm not familiar with that operation, so I want to meet with him and I want a complete walkthrough of what it is he's going to be doing. What is the reporting method on these benchmarks? How often are we going to get updates? Things of that nature. And the senior center renovation project is now substantially complete. They're working on the punch list items this week. It turned out beautiful. If you haven't seen it, stop in. It was a great project. The director, Tara Miller, will be scheduling a grand opening ribbon cutting ceremony in March, and you will all be invited to that. That's the end of my report, but unfortunately I have vandalism to report. Yesterday, a car hit the parking booth at lot 1. It was just casement around one of the posts, so Pat said he could get it repaired for $50, not major. It's not really vandalism. I think it was an accident, but not reported. We had some graffiti at the skate park. Cost to repair that's $100. And then an 8x8 post removed at Patriot Park, allowing vehicles to enter, and they were driving all over the park. The cost to repair that is $100. That is the end of my report. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Shannon? Thank you, Shannon. I think it's a very thorough report after 2 days. We have Planning Commission, Phil Latchford is not here. Port Authority, Bruce, is the meeting the 8th? Okay, so we haven't had a meeting since last year, and so I'll attend the one on the 8th. Mr. Glidden, the Zoological Society?
The Zoological Society has not met recently.
Attorney's report,
Nothing to report, thank you.
Director's report,
Sir?
Department of Finance. Mr. Glidden.
I have the claims docket for January 3rd. As there are 0 total claims. I assume we will accept the claims docket. I make a motion that we do so.
That's it, huh?
We have to,
Did you want me to second it?
Yeah.
I second it. Okay.
All for say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion approved.
I have the payroll 11/26/23, 12/9/23, pay date 12/15/23. The total payroll $72,042.35, and I would move that we adopt the payroll.
I'll second it.
All for aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion carried.
I have the gifts and donations. We have an unknown zoo donation, Share the Care, $70. And Edward Jones made a zoo donation miscellaneous for $1,000. And I would move that we accept these generous gifts.
Second it.
All for say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries.
And then we have no minor transfers or credit card charges.
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Yes. Bruce.
In terms of the parking lot paving, Shannon, could you tell me what part of the parking lot they're going to pave? Does it have anything to do with the Port Authority's parking lot?
No, it does not. It's 2 parking areas are identified in our master plan between North Point Pavilion and the zoo.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take this back to the Port Authority, and perhaps if you're going to do that, perhaps we can get together with you folks and have it all done at once and get our parking lot taken care of also. So,
Great.
yeah, I'll get back to you all on that after I discuss it with the Port Authority.
Now, keep in mind, this project is not funded. It's just
Okay.
something that we're looking at as a top priority. If you look at our 3-year capital list, it's $65 million. So we have to prioritize, pick and choose, and that one kind of rose to the top. But it's not funded at this point.
Are you going to attempt to get it funded?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good news. The only other thing I had was the water tower part grant has been funded, you say?
Correct, just a little over $1 million in grant money.
And when is that going to take place?
The contract will come to the board on February 7th, so they can start mid-February. It'll be done. Contract term ends on November 30th.
Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Manor. Any other comments? Comments from the board? Well, I'd like to thank everybody for last year and the many successful things that took place with the park department. I'd also like to wish everyone a joyous 2024. I wished it was 19 and I'd be a lot younger, but anyhow, and looking forward to working with Will. And I apologize, I had a football player for me, his name was Mike Walker. And so I asked him, I asked Will if he wanted to be called Mike or Michael, and he said, I'd rather be called Will. So I apologize for that social blunder. Anyhow, I look forward to this year and a lot of neat things, especially hearing about Monkey Island. That brings back memories. Any other comments?
We need a formal motion to table the election of officers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Let's make a motion to table the election of officers and then the appointments of liaisons also until our next meeting.
I would move that we table the election of officers until January 17th.
I'll second it.
All opposed, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Any other comments? Thank you for that, Mr. Glidden. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, next park board meeting will be Wednesday, January 17th, 5 o'clock here. If that's all, we're adjourned.
Okay.